Hi, everybody, and welcome to Pinal Prep Spotlight, brought to you by Jones Ford Buick GMC, your hometown dealer for more than 50 years. I am Brian Wright, and I am joined by Maria Vasquez. And now that the regular season is really all wrapped up in soccer, and it's almost wrapped up in basketball, save for a couple games, we're going to talk about some state playoffs. And in particular, we're going to talk about the 4A basketball playoffs. So we're going to start with the 4A boys basketball playoffs. And at this point, we really just have one Pinal team that is going to be playing, and that is Poston Butte. They are at number 20 in the 4A rankings. They have a final regular season game on Tuesday against Scottsdale Saguaro. That team is ranked number 30, so that's a game that the Broncos should win. And then you have the play-in round, which is starting on Friday. So, Maria, the Broncos have been in a really tough region this year, so you look at their region record, it's not great, but obviously it has gotten them into playoff positions. So how do you feel about the Broncos right now?
Well, like you mentioned, the region they're in, they're going up against some top playoff teams in Arcadia, Mesquite, and Marcos Deniza. So going forward, those games should help them out because they know what to expect once they make that play-in round.
And I think one thing to look at here with Poston Butte is that they have had a kind of a nice last week as the regular season winds down. Now, they had a game against Marcos Deniza on February 4th, and this was a team that they had lost to by 24 points when they played the first time. So they beat Marcos Deniza by 8. And then they did lose to Mesquite last week on the 6th by 8 points, but they had lost that game the first time by 22. So they played much, much better against those two teams the second time they played them, and to kind of wrapping up that regular season. So that tells me that Poston Butte is playing better basketball as the regular season ends, which is a good sign. But Maria, what else do you think there is, when you look at Poston Butte, what else is there that's kind of significant right now?
Well, for the Broncos, it's pretty much the Quest Williams show. He is averaging around 23 points, and all the other guys after that are barely averaging around 7 points per game. So the Broncos need some other people to contribute and get some of that pressure off of Williams.
Yeah, I said that at the beginning of the year, that they kind of needed a second option, somebody to step up and help him carry the scoring load. Well, that really hasn't happened. So we kind of just know what the Broncos are at this point. They are going to need Quest Williams to kind of put that Superman cape on and do his thing. That's just kind of the kind of team they are, the way they're constructed. But I will say that senior Reese Bruce is somebody to watch as well. Now, he has been their second leading scorer, granted at just over 7 points a game. And he is also their leading rebounder. He's averaging about 6 rebounds per game. And he leads the team in blocks with almost 2 blocks per game. So he is another person who is going to be an impact player for the Broncos. Let's move on now to the 4A girls bracket. And you have Poston Butte again, which is strangely at number 20 in the power rankings right now, just like the boys are. And we also have Combs, which is a bit of a strange case because Combs is at number 32 in the power points, yet they are in position to win their region, which would make them an automatic qualifier for the state playoffs. They just need to beat AJ on Tuesday night to make that happen. So let's start with Poston Butte. Maria, and Savannah Bix in her second season has this team in good playoff position. But what's the story with the Poston Butte girls right now?
Well, I really believe that they've done all they can do as far as controlling their playoffs hope. Their final game is against Scottsdale Saguaro. They're a top 10 team. And Poston Butte has really struggled against those top-ranked opponents this year.
Yeah, and in particular, I'm looking at their last game that they had, which was against Mesquite, and they lost 50-25 now, and that the 25 points was a season low for Poston Butte. So they really need to have a nice bounce-back game against Saguaro. Even if they don't win, they need to have a good performance, I think, because they're going to have a quick turnaround for that play-in round, which begins on Thursday. But what else are you looking at, Maria, when you look at this Broncos team?
Well, the girl that stands out is Taylor Reese. This girl can really get into the paint, and she knows how to draw that contact. And she is a 68% free throw shooter, so she can knock it down from the free throw line, and that's really key when you don't really have that much contribution from outside the arc.
And just a quick note, it's worth mentioning that we don't know who these teams are going to be playing in the state playoffs right now because the brackets have not been released. As we mentioned, there's still one regular season game outstanding for a lot of these teams. But let's talk about Combs a little bit. So Combs is 8-1 in the region, and so really if they beat AJ Tuesday night, then they're 9-1 and they win the region. And they are led by Teresa de la Cruz, who's averaging about 12 points per game. And Maria, this is kind of one of those strange situations where you have a team that's not really anywhere near the top 24, but they're in prime position because they have a very good chance to win the region. So what are your thoughts on the Coyotes?
You mentioned it. This final game is a must-win for them because they don't want to leave it up to chance or whatever crazy tiebreaker the AIA has that's going to decide between them and Dysart who makes the cut and who doesn't.
Yeah, and that's something that I really don't have any clue how they're going to do. If Combs is to lose that game against AJ, you have two teams with Combs and Dysart who will be tied in the region standings. They will have split the season series. They'll have the same conference record, and that's just a whole, can of worms there that the AIA is going to have to figure out. But that does it for our 4A breakdown. Now let's move on to our what to watch. So Maria, what do you have this week?
Well, in continuing with the playoff theme, I am going to go with state wrestling and Division 4 with the Santa Cruz Dust Devils. Now, Santa Cruz are the defending state champions from last year, and following their big win at sectionals last weekend, they're in pretty good shape for that repeat. At sectionals, they had 6 first-place finishers, and 3 of them are defending individual state champs.
And I'm going to talk about the 3A Central Region basketball tournaments. Now, we got 2 of these. We got one for the boys, one for the girls. The boys tournament is going to be at ALA Queen Creek, and the girls tournament is going to be at Florence. The reason being, whoever is the regular season champion gets to host these tournaments. But take a quick look at the 3A Central Girls region. Florence is going to certainly be the favorite there, and I think they have a good chance to go ahead and win that. Now, the top 2 teams in the region tournament get an automatic bid into the state playoffs. Now, flip over to the boys' side, and that's a little more interesting because ALA Queen Creek is the number 1 team in the regular season standings, and then you have 2 teams in Santan Foothills and Florence that are really equally matched. And, one of those 2 teams is going to end up in the finals, likely. And you're going to have another team that is going to finish, 3rd or below, but will probably also get in because of their overall power ranking. I don't think anybody's in danger of missing the state playoffs. But it's going to be interesting to see which one of those 2 teams probably ends up playing Queen Creek for the championship, which is what I expect the Patriots to reach the championship game. That does it for our show this week. Remember to visit pinalcentral.com for all of your winter sports playoff action, and we will see you next week.